Well, I coach youth, and one of the biggest things with youth is creating some muscle memory. And one of the things in the way I use is both for offense and defense is I used it to give them more of a realistic look. So often I like using linebacker shields. The problem with linebacker shields is there's no arms. They're grasping the outside as far as an offensive lineman versus the inside. So as far as the offensive line is concerned, it gave them a visual or a target when we started doing some offensive line blocking that they needed to get inside the arms versus so often with a linebacker shield and grabbing on the outside. As far as defense is concerned, what it really taught me to do is create extension. Allows them to make sure that they get away from the arms as far as when they're going to go into either a rip or a swim type of technique. So it created that actual length as far as the arm is concerned, both for defense, but for offense, it allowed them to get a target inside the arms as far as where the breastplate would be. Oh, absolutely. I think with youth, when you coach youth, you ask a youth to go through a drill half speed because you're trying to train your defense or offensive lineman. It's very difficult for a youth to do that. They either A, don't want to be beat up by their best friend, or B, they don't want to give an effort to the point where it will give a realistic look. So what the bag allows me to do as either a coach, as I'm holding it, or one of my assistants, or one of the other players is it allows us to go live without having to worry about a player who is we're using as the dummy, either going full go, not given the opportunity to a realistic look for the player that we're trying to coach, or not doing anything at all and just kind of letting the guy do whatever he wants. So it allowed me to control the speed that I wanted to as far as when I'm coaching a player. You know, I used it in a couple of different spots, and one of the things as I was talking to another line coach, one of the places that I used it was for my center. So often when the biggest thing with a center is they're much closer to the defensive line than other linemen. And what we try to teach with our centers is quick hands. Well, you put a dummy in front of them without arms, or you put a linebacker shield in front of them without arms, their hands aren't as quick. But all of a sudden, you take that dummy and you put that in front of them and their arms are there, that forces them to use their hands quickly, to get it up quickly. They're not having to just go through the motions because those arms are going to be on them pretty quick. So I use that a lot for our centers, but as overall, what I liked about the bags and offensive linemen is I can adjust the pad level. I have, you know, you deal with youth, sometimes you got a 6'1" kid, sometimes you have a 5'4" lineman. It allowed me to adjust that bag to whatever level I needed to when we were doing some of our line drills, progression drills, so that they had a target to practice inside the bag, inside the arms, but it allowed me to adjust the level as far as when we did some one-on-one pass blocking. Yep. Yeah, there was actually a drill that I came up with called getting long. And once again, it's about creating muscle memory. It's about showing a kid or a player what's wrong and then teaching them what's right. As a matter of fact, when it came to defensive linemen, so often what I had them do is I had them get inside the bag, as so often younger youth want to do is they get really close to the bag and you ask them to do a rip or a swim. Well, what's happening is that arm is actually choking them or pulling their helmet. But by then, what I asked them to do is now get long, get extension. So they visually saw those arms getting away, and then asking them to do the rip or the swim was just so powerful because they're like, oh, now I get it. So it was important to show them. So I call it a drill called getting long. And I started off showing them inside. Now try to do a rip. They get all tangled up in the arms. But once they got long or got that extension, they were able to do their rip or their swim technique, and they understood the value of getting away from the offensive lineman. One of the other ways that I used it for was I also coached our defensive ends, and one of the biggest things about teaching youth sports and defensive end is keeping the edge. And with the Colt, I was able to attack them and force them to keep the edge. We also set up passing situations, and you know, having an offensive lineman try to realistically give it when they know that they're going to, there's a pass rush or whatever, they're going to do different techniques and they're going to try to get around because they know what the defensive end is going to try to do. The Colt allowed me to teach that defensive end to aim for a specific target, whether it's the elbow, knocking it down and ripping through, but it always taught them to stay on the edge, and that arm gave them more of a realistic feel without beating up one of my other offensive tackles, of keeping the edge and attacking the outside shoulder and fighting that outside arm so that they're not going to end up getting turned in for a potential sweep. You know, that was something that, you know, you and I had worked on about incorporating jersey, and although the Colt was a really nice feature and in having a place to attack, we ended up putting a jersey on the Colt itself, and we talked about either grabbing the inside for an offensive lineman perspective. You know, we all teaching, as far as linemen are concerned, we're teaching them the breastplate, but there really wasn't a breastplate on it. So by adding the jersey, they actually had something physical to grab. So as I would say with our jersey, I would say attack the number on offense, but on defense, it was attack the mascot as far as grabbing, ripping, pulling, whether it's the swim or the rip technique. I would say attack the mascot, and they would grab the mascot and then either do the rip or the swim technique. So having a target and telling them what target to attack really gives and creates that muscle memory. Or very quickly as they're attacking the dummy itself, saying attack the mascot or you know, attack the right mascot or the left mascot. That really allowed them to create some muscle memory, and I got to grab, I got to pull, I got to rip, or I got to swim. My son, who's 13 years of age, is a post player. So the way I've been using it with him, as well as my daughter, who's also a post player, is I've been using that, especially underneath the basket, rebound, and then putting the arms out and having them fight through those arms as far as, number one, finish the shot, but two, create a foul from a standpoint of potential three points. So it allows me, without dad physically beating them up, it allows the dummy to be there as something that they have to fight through. As far as posting up is concerned, putting it in their back, getting them the feel of that, as well as when there's a shot going up to actually roll, get the arms out of the way so that they can box out that player by utilizing the arms, feeling where the arms are, where's the leverage, where do I need to move. So I've been utilizing it with them as teaching them as they post up down low. Prior to the Colt and the arms, I actually used a linebacker shield. And I would actually, obviously, if you're going to be coaching girls as a man, it's, you know, you want to be able to get a little bit of separation. So I was actually using a shield. Now, I still use the shield to really give them some good pushing, but I think with the Colt, it adds that added dimension as far as where's that arm? Where do I feel it? Do I roll left? Do I roll right? Especially when I'm taking a pass inside. Do I feel more pressure on the right? Do I feel more pressure? Am I going to drop step with my right? Am I going to drop step with my left foot? And I utilize that Colt from the arm perspective to give them a little push one way or another and teaching them where's going to be my drop step, left or right if I receive a pass from the outside and I'm posted up inside. So it does give a lot more realistic. You don't have to worry about bending your fingers back or getting your arm bent back. It allows them to basically beat up the bag without anybody else getting beat up.